In 2019, King's Dominion made a gut-wrenching announcement. After 20 years of thrilling guests and being the most popular coaster in the park, Volcano, the blast coaster, would be officially retired, being closed for most of the prior season. But still, it was official, and a big piece was suddenly missing from King's Dominion. A lot happened since then. There was the COVID pandemic. There was an entire retheme of the area Volcano used to sit in. And finally, 6 years after Volcano's demise was official, 7 years after it gave its last ride, we got its replacement. Rapterra is a B&M launch wing coaster, hitting 65 miles an hour, reaching a top height of 145 feet, and covering just over 3,000 feet of track, including 3 inversions. This had big shoes to fill, and not everyone was happy with the choice of the B&M wing to be the big replacement. But this is what we got, and I got out to the park in late May and got 2 rides, and got to see what this was all about. Some of it was good, some not so much, so you know what that means. These are the pros and cons of Rapterra. First, I want to thank my Patreons and my new members, Q Thrills, Razor2470, and Brian Banton. If you want bonus access, bonus content, behind the scenes videos, a shout out when you join, and your name on this fancy Patreon screen, follow the link below and join. Let's dive right into the first pro, and that's how well it fits into this new area. 3 years ago, this area that had Avalanche and I-305 and Flight of Fear was rethemed, now known as Jungle Expedition, and Avalanche was rethemed as Reptilian. Tumbili was added. I-305 is now going to be known as Pantherian, and you got Rapterra bringing everything together, this section of the park being a nice little coaster paradise. And it seems like you spin around and you see the entrance of 3 coasters right there. I know this is low-hanging fruit, but it's nice when a park gets something right, and they definitely got this right. You walk up to Rapterra and notice the main cube is right in the infield of the layout. You get awesome views of the ride while waiting in line, and that's great until you get those hot and humid summer weekend days and realize the first con. There's no shade in this queue. Some enthusiasts hate shade, it ruins our shots, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them add shade here in the future, but for now, it's kinda brutal, and I feel sorry for people stuck in that line later this summer. I was lucky, it was a cool rainy day when I was there, and the ride was a walk-on, but this is gonna be a problem. Luckily, it's an easy one to fix. As you approach the end of that outdoor queue, you run into an employee directing you to go left or right. This is a wing coaster, so it loads on opposite sides. If you go left, you'll dip under the station and end up on the left side of the train. If you go right, you'll end up on a short path into the station. These trains have 5 rows apiece, so they're pretty short, but the same as the other American launch wing coaster, Thunderbird. You roll out to the launch track and away you go. It's a rolling launch, and it gets up to 60 miles an hour in 3.5 seconds, and that's my second pro. This launch is awesome. Sometimes these launches can be weak, especially if the ride is more about the elements and the launch is just meant to give it enough speed to make it through, but this launch is punchy. Next, it goes into a 145-foot horseshoe, the most prominent and visible element on the ride, turning the train around a full 180 degrees, then back down and up into a dive loop, turning the train back around toward the horseshoe, rise back up into this off-axis airtime hill, goes back down and rises into another 180 degree turnaround, this one being right over the main footpath, almost like a mini upward helix, then back down and into a corkscrew, an airtime hill that jumps over the launch track, and one final inversion, a heartline roll that leads into the final turn into the brakes. I got to ride this twice, once in the back row on the left side, outside seat, and once in the front row on the right side, inside seat. So for only getting 2 rides, I got 2 very different experiences. And on my back row ride, I found my second con. This gives a very bumpy ride. I admit, this was probably the roughest seat by definition, in the back, on the outside, but you would still hope a brand new B&M would give a smooth ride no matter where you are. The last couple years, B&M has been getting a lot of grief among coaster enthusiasts. People noticing their new models starting in 2024 running rough, something B&M has never been known for. I mean, some of their older coasters like Raptor and Kumba and even Scream have a reputation of running rough, but their new coasters have never had that problem until very recently. People were hoping they would fix this problem between 2024 and 2025, and based on my first ride in the back row, that doesn't seem to be the case. It wasn't as bad as Iron Menace in the back row in the far wing seat, but it was still off more than a new B&M should be. After riding their other new American coaster this year, Big Bad Wolf: The Wolf's Revenge, it does seem like they've made some improvements, but it's still not like it used to be. After my first lap, I mentioned how bumpy the ride was to the ride op, and he said it was because it was raining and the ride was running in rain mode. Apparently, this allows the wheels to grip the track better, but it ends up with a bumpier ride. The whole ride isn't that shaky, but by the time you hit the end of that launch track, and by the time you hit that turnaround over the main footpath, there are some pretty jarring moments where your seat is really bouncing. Lucky for us, this isn't a problem for the whole ride, and that's my third pro. The front row inside seat was very smooth. I'm usually a backseat guy, but I like my front seat ride a lot more. The visuals were good, and the forces weren't much different, and that brings me to con number 3. It's not very forceful. I know, a lot of people are going to compare this to Thunderbird, and rightfully so. Stat-wise, they're almost identical. They have the same trains, they have a launch. You can't talk about one without the other, it's just the way it's going to be. When I ride Thunderbird, I say it feels like the best wing coaster in America, and I don't have the same thought about Rapterra. In fact, I'd probably put this last among the 5 American wing coasters. On the other end of the spectrum is Thunderbird. Thunderbird has some bite. I didn't get that with Rapterra, at least aside from the launch. Because Thunderbird has good forces, it can really press down on your restraint, and you do not want to be stapled by these B&M vests. I don't know if everyone has this problem, but when these come down, they pinch my thighs bad, and sometimes it'll crush your torso and it hurts really bad. This brings me to pro number 4 on Rapterra. I didn't get stapled, no thigh pinching, no torso crushing. This could be because the better vest design on those new models, but more likely, it doesn't have enough force to push that restraint down. So if that's the case, there is an upside to lacking force. Getting down to the elements, my 5th pro is the way the ride ends. You have that corkscrew, you have your airtime hill. It doesn't have any airtime, but it's a good bridge element between the inversions. And then you have the heartline roll. This felt like they had room for one more good element before the brakes, and they nailed it. So, that being said, I want to talk about my 4th con, and that's the lack of a standout element. The launch is good, but not something that's going to make you come back over and over again. Most wing coasters have a near-miss element, and those are really cool. Gatekeeper's keyholes, X-Flight's towers, Thunderbird shack. Rapterra doesn't have anything like that, and given its surroundings, it seems like they could have easily built something for it to weave through, but chose not to. The inversions don't have any whip, the airtime hills don't offer any airtime. This ride goes through the motions, and if you're in the back, those motions include a lot of bouncing. The last 2 inversions have some good hang time, and that's the best thing I can say about it. So, where does Rapterra rank on my overall list? It's not top 50, or top 100, or even top 200. I have it slotted at number 226 of 692. For context, that's about 20 spots lower than my previously bottom-ranked B&M wing, Wild Eagle. So obviously, I was not the biggest fan of this ride, but nobody really cares what I think, especially not Six Flags or King's Dominion. The bottom line is the bottom line, and I think this was a very good addition for the park. They needed another strong launch coaster. After they lost Volcano, they were just left with Flight of Fear and Backlot Stunt Coaster, and this is now the best launch in the park. It fits in great with Jungle Expedition, really playing out that tropical theme, and it is kind of funny to have this right next to Tumbili, a couple green coasters that have riders on the side of the track, but they were going for a theme and a look, and they achieved that. I think this will be popular with the public. Wing coasters have that novelty, and the launch adds to its marketability. So, from the park's standpoint, this was a solid and worthy replacement for Volcano. From an enthusiast standpoint, it doesn't quite live up to its predecessor, and when you're replacing a legend, you really gotta bring it, and I don't think this makes the cut. That's all I have for Rapterra. Let me know what you think of the ride, where it ranks among your wing coasters, and where it ranks in the park. If you want to see where I rank it, stay tuned. I'll be ranking every coaster in the park's history very soon. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and want to see more like this, please give me a sub. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.